Okay, so hi guys. So I welcome you all for this webinar series. We have like three events happening, starting with the first one now, and then followed by Adam Gordon, wherein he'll be talking about talent branding, how do we build a talent pool, right, and then how do we manage a talent pool and all that, right? And engagement is the new sourcing. So he will be discussing on those lines. And then we have the night session from Dean DeCosta. Dean DeCosta is considered as one of the great sourcing gurus, right? So he's an author, he's a speaker, he speaks a lot on search. So he'll be talking on X-ray searches and a lot of HR tech automation tools, which will assist us in sourcing. Right? So the discussion of mine will be majorly around overall recruiting career, right? And how is it taking shape post-COVID, right? What are the new aspects which will come into picture, and how the role of a recruiter which will evolve eventually, right? So now, if you look at the current scenario which we are in, right? We are in a scenario which is a bad scenario for the entire industry, not just recruiting industry, right? Pretty bad scenario, and a lot of job losses, right? So this is a time wherein we need to get prepared and then see what is the post-COVID scenario and how things will evolve, because things may not remain as it was earlier. Things will evolve because whenever there's a new recession happening or whenever there are job losses, when things evolve, there's a new shape to the entire industry, right? So that is something which we'll try to get a hang of, try to get an overview of where the industry is moving, right? So, yep, to start with, we'll start with trying to understand by 2025, where is the industry heading, right? What is going to happen to the industry? Right? So, before we get a picture of where the industry is heading, let's try to understand how our industry has evolved over a period of time. Right? First, it started with ads, right? Recruiting started with ads on top of newspapers. That is how recruiting began in the initial days, right? Then it moved on to job boards, right? Post and pray. So we post a job board as a posting, and then we pray, and then we expect candidates to apply. And then there was a scenario wherein we used to shoot out bulk mails, right, for candidates on job boards. We shoot out bulk mails, and then we are able to get candidates. There was this scenario, and then there is a scenario which is more around social media, which was evolved. LinkedIn came into the picture, and slowly people started doing LinkedIn search and all that, right? So this is a scenario which we have seen till now. But now, where it is moving towards a more consultative and strategic approach. It is moving more towards a consultative and a strategic approach. So I generally say COVID is a blessing in disguise for recruiters. Why is it a blessing in disguise for recruiters? Because till now, most of the TA folks, most of the people in the recruiting industry have been doing recruiting the way they've been doing for last 7, 10 years, 8, 10 years. There's not much change, right? Whatever has been happening is just happening the way most of them, the majority of them, right? There's not much change. So they generally say, right, we need some kind of shake, right? We need some kind of a trigger to move ourselves from our comfort zones. Unless and until we don't move from our comfort zones, we will not evolve. This is something which is very common in every industry. This is what everyone talks about, right? Moving away from the comfort zone. So we needed some kind of a trigger, and I believe that has come in the form of COVID, right? Wherein COVID has shaken us a bit, and then now I see everyone is going for courses, new knowledge sharing, whatever is out there in the web, people are going gaining knowledge. There's a lot of effort being put now. Why? Because people see, yes, I need to shift, I need to change, I cannot be doing things what I've been doing earlier, I need to bring a change. So in this context, I believe COVID, there's a positive aspect to COVID, wherein it has pushed us, it has shaken us from our comfort zones, and we are in a scenario where we are trying to adapt to the new changes and see where we are headed. Even without COVID, our industry was evolving. With AI, with technology, every month is a new tech tool coming in the market, right? It was evolving. It is just that most of the recruiters were not getting a sense of it. right? We were just doing our age-old things of whatever we've been doing. So this way, COVID has helped us to just shake us up and then see where we are headed. So this is the context more or less around what we'll be discussing, where the industry is heading towards, right? Okay. Now, one of the major shift which is going to happen is majorly around machines, technologies, and tools. Even without COVID, there was a lot of ambiguity between recruiters in context to AI. Right? AI was the most buzzing term in the recruiting industry, artificial intelligence. Right? There were people who were like talking about AI is going to take over recruitment. They started with this jargon first. AI is going to take over recruitment, and then people said, no, not entire recruitment. Maybe AI will take over sourcing because there's a pattern to sourcing, right? Because entire recruiting needs empathy and all that, so that may not happen. So AI will take over entire sourcing. This jargon which was being all around, right? So even without COVID, there was a picture which was built that the technology is going to impact humans. But that is a wrong analogy. Why? Because if we see from years, right, how we have evolved, technology has always helped us. Technology has always assisted us in solving our problems. Even if you look at the most simplest of the technology, let's say a calculator. Right? When calculator came in, it actually helped us calculating rather it did not take away jobs. So humans evolved with technology. Right? So when job boards came, people thought, okay, maybe the job will be lost. When LinkedIn came, so there was a lot of data. Right? So technology is never taking away the jobs of humans. It is never human versus machines. Rather, it is human and machine versus the problem. So as recruiters, the way we need to be looking at is there are tools out there, there are technologies out there. So how am I using these tools and technologies for the problem statement which I have in front of me? That is the kind of a mindset which a recruiter needs to have. And then we use our domain knowledge, our understanding, our empathy, along with the tool, along with the machine to solve a problem. So this is what we'll be looking at. How is that we are going to evolve, right? Human and machines together. We're going to face problems. We're going to solve problems, bring out more solutions and better solutions in the industry. Okay, now, yeah, this is what something which briefly I spoke about. Recruiters won't be replaced, right? Rather, it will become a more strategic. Talking about this, I want to give one example. There's a wrong notion in the industry that data is everything. There's a wrong notion in the industry which still believes data is gold mine. I totally disagree with that notion. Data is not gold mine. Right? Because today, if you can pay 50,000 rupees to a good developer, he can get you some 5 to 10 lakhs of data sets from LinkedIn. He'll scrape and give you. It is that simple. It's a cakewalk. Right? And we know so many companies, technology companies, right? There are so many evolving technology companies, heavily funded companies, which say they are AI driven, right? Where they have data. They have lakhs of data. So now, are they solving the entire recruiting problem? Are these technology companies out there which has lakhs of data, are they solving it? No, they are not solving it. They're not able to solve it because recruiting problem is beyond data. Data is just one piece which anyone can get a hang of it today. Right? If you have 50,000 rupees, you can easily get 5 lakhs of data today. Right? You can just scrape it, you can get it. So it's just a cakewalk. So what is more important is what are you going to do with the data? What is your approach? That is where a strategic and consultative approach is majorly required in a recruiting context. Data is not everything. When you have data in front of you, what all you could do with the data is what is more important than the data itself, right? Okay, now this is an amazing quote by Steve Jobs, right? Wherein Steve Jobs says, everything around you was actually built by people who were not that smarter than you, right? So if you can actually change what is built around you. Now, if you look at recruiting, we've been following certain method or a framework or a process for a period of time, right? So we have to come up with a solution on how do we change it. So sky is the limit on how do we change it. So basically, if you look at how technology products, right, if top-notch product companies like Amazon, right, or even Apple itself, how do they come up with solutions? So when the business people sit down to build solutions, they never take technology into account. They don't take the limitations of the technology into account. They talk about this is the problem statement, and they talk about all hypothetical situations possible. Right? They talk about all hypothetical situations possible to solve that problem, keeping technology aside. And then once they have all the hypothetical situations in front of their plate, right? These are the 10 points. These are the hypothetical situations. If we have this, we can solve this problem. Once that is there, then they start looking at technology, what is required, what kind of tech is required to solve it. So we also need a similar approach. Let's forget what is around us. Let's forget the process around us, the technology around us. We need to look at, okay, this is a problem for me. These are the possible solutions. And then we start looking for technology or maybe framework or maybe a process which will help us build those solutions. This is the right mindset, okay, rather than relying or sticking on to what is already available. That is what Steve Jobs actually says, and that is what companies like Apple or Google really do, right? So this is the kind of a mindset which is required for a recruiting industry going forward. Okay. So it's time for future-proofing your recruiting career. Okay, now let's talk about this cost of doing nothing. What would happen if recruiters maintain status quo? Okay, what this basically is, what it means is, as recruiters, most of us would relate that we started our career by sitting next to a senior, right, senior recruiter or a lead recruiter. We spent like a couple of days time, maybe 2 days or 3 days, and on the 4th day we were asked to get started, right? And that initial 3-4 days, whatever we learned from that guide or a team lead or a senior recruiter, there are two things which could have happened. One, whatever the positive that person passed on to us, we picked it up. Whatever the negative aspects or maybe things which were not really great was passed on to us, we picked it up. And if you look at how recruiters, most of them have been doing recruiting, I'm talking about the majority, it has not changed in reference to what we were doing when we were 2 months or 3 months experience or 6 months experience. It has not changed after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So that is one of the reasons why we are stuck as an industry. This is nothing to blame one recruiter or one set of people. It is a innate problem which is there in the industry itself. The reason is that is how we've been nurtured. That is how we've been doing things over a period of time as an industry. There's an amazing saying in a recruiting industry. You give any amazing HR tech product to a recruiter, right? I have seen this a lot of senior HR tech people talking about it. Okay, you give any amazing HR tech product to a recruiter. At the end of the day, the recruiter will come to Excel sheets, right? At the end of the day, the recruiter will come to Excel sheets. Why? Because resistance to change as an industry, this is innate to us. Okay, so that is something which needs a change, and I believe this is a time where we'll be looking forward to what is that change and how do we move forward. Okay, now transform yourself into a true talent consultant and a growth hacker. As recruiters, we carry a designation, right? We carry a designation like consultant. Okay, we carry a designation like consultant. But do you think most of the recruiters out there really do it justice for the designation consultant? Not really. So this is where we'll be looking at how can we become a consultant. As recruiters, what are the aspects which we need to concentrate on and ensure we become real consultants, because that is where the future is. If we keep doing things how we were doing over a period of time, right, then we may not exist. The role may not exist because it is evolving. Okay, so this is the crux of whatever we are going to talk. Of this entire discussion, this is the crux, right? what you're seeing right in front of your screen, 6 holy laws of future recruiting. This is the main crux which I wanted to present you, which I wanted to tell you where our industry is moving, and these are the 6 aspects which we need to be really focusing on. And what we have done here is these 6 holy laws of future recruiting. Some people would have been following bits and pieces of these here and there, but we tried to bring a broader picture and try to emphasize on each of these 6 holy laws of future recruiting. Okay? And this is where the future is. Yeah, I'll be spending a good amount of time on this one one slide, okay, so that we get a pretty much broader view and we try to understand the 6 holy laws of future recruiting. Okay, this you can treat it as like your Bible, Bhagavad Gita, or Quran of recruiting, right? This you can treat it as a holy scripture. Okay, these 6 laws are the most important laws for the future of recruiting. First and foremost, being repository agnostic, right? What does it mean being a repository agnostic? Guys, I'm putting you on mute, so be on mute. Unmute yourself only if there's a need. Okay, if you have to ask anything, if there's any trouble, then you put yourself on unmute other than muting yourself. Okay. So you'll have last 10 minutes for Q&A. So that time, I think we can have a discussion. Okay. So let's start with the first point, the first law, right? The first holy law of future recruiting, becoming repository agnostic. What is repository agnostic? Today, as recruiters, we mine a lot of repositories for data. One of the core repositories which we mine is Naukri, right? Job boards. That is one of the core repositories. But there's one innate problem in our mining methods. There's an innate problem. And this problem, let me tell you, most of the recruiters think, hey, Naukri, I know it. Most of the recruiters, there's a very wrong assumption. Naukri I've been doing for last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever the experience range is. Me, along with my training partner, right, we've done a lot of training. Like we've trained 5,000 recruiters across India. What we have observed is less than 5% recruiters really have the hold of mining data sets, right, on any repository. Less than 5%. That means 95% of the recruiters are not really capable to mine even a job board like Naukri, which they've been working day in, day out for maybe whatever X number of years they've been working on. How is this possible? You might have this question. People have been working on Naukri for like 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Yes. The difference is most of the recruiters, what they do is they perform a search to get data. What they don't do is they don't know how to talk to a search engine. There's a difference between searching and talking to a search engine. So I've been doing a lot of webinars in the last 2-3 weeks around this search aspect, wherein I've been trying to help recruiters wherein they can talk to the search engine. So this is one of the major pieces wherein a recruiter needs to ensure that he moves from searching to talking to search engines. Okay. Why? As a recruiter, if you can get hold, right, if you can get a hold on one repository, let's say one repository, I'm not talking about umpteen repositories, I'm talking about one repository. If you can get a hold of one repository, let's say Naukri itself, because we spend a lot of time on Naukri, right? Once you get a hold here, then what happens? You know the innate language, right, to interact with the search engine. You know how to talk to the search engine and tell them, hey, I've seen this data, don't show me a new data set, right? So once you do this, then it becomes easy to navigate to any other repository, be it LinkedIn, X-Ray. Today it is LinkedIn, X-Ray, or Facebook or Naukri. Tomorrow it can be some other tool. So unless and until we master the art of deep mining, which can happen if and only if we befriend a search engine, right? One repository. And then once we get that mindset of how do we deep mine it, then the same mindset can be applicable anywhere on any repository. So today the problem is a mindset problem wherein we go with buzzwords. So recruiters are like, hey, I know Naukri, I need to learn X-Ray, LinkedIn, GitHub, Stack Overflow. We go with buzzwords. Just like how most of the developers, right, out there, the developers in the service industry, if you ask them, hey, what next, man, after 4 years, 5 years of experience, they're like, hey, I need to do big data. I need to do data science. Why? Because buzzwords, these are the buzzing words in the market. Similarly, recruiter, what he does is like, hey, I need to learn X-Ray. I need to learn GitHub, Stack Overflow. So what happens here? There's an innate problem in both these cases. Let's take the developer case. For a developer, most of these service developers, people working in TCS, Infosys companies, people in the service industry, they fail to understand that if they can strengthen their OOPS, DS, and algorithm, they will end up solving more problems, complex problems, which they would enjoy, right, than trying to move to data science or big data, all these buzzing words. Similarly, as recruiters, there are a lot of small things which sound small for us, right? Which just because the market is having some buzzing words, if we gain an expertise in that, then the rest of it becomes easy and you can do the rest of it. So as a recruiter, first thing is we need to get an expertise over mining repositories. Let's start with one repository. Let's master the art of mining one repository. The rest of the repositories becomes a cakewalk for you. So this is one of the holy laws of future recruiting, that is to know how do you talk to repositories. Okay. Now, second law, developing deeper understanding of business drivers and dynamics. This is actually such a beautiful law, and unfortunately, majority of the recruiters do not realize the need of. 1.5 years back, I met a TA head of a large product company. Right? When I'm talking about large product company, a product company which is an internet-based product company. Okay, so you guys know internet-based product companies offer a lot of salary. Right, 4 years guys get 20-25 lakhs of salary as well. TA folks, right? We know that. So now this guy had a concern. Okay, so this guy, when we went and we were talking to him, we were like, hey, can you suggest me some good recruiters? And then I started suggesting a bunch of names to him. And once I started suggesting bunch of names, you know what did he say? He said, hey, I don't need sources, man. What did he say? I don't need sources. Yes, sourcing is one aspect. Okay, they need to be good at it. But get me some references of those candidates who have the deeper understanding of business, who can empathize with the business, who can talk to the business in the business language. This is the need of the hour. And I said, sorry, I don't have. I said, no, I don't know. Because this is one aspect which we fail to really concentrate on. Okay. Now let me give you a recruiting example. Right? First, I'll give you a general example and then a recruiting example. General example is like this. Okay. Let's say you want to hire a cook. Okay, you want to hire a cook for a large function which is happening. Okay, and this is generally a South Indian food. If you need to cook, you got the details. You need a South Indian. Right? And then you get a cook, which is a South Indian cook, and then you ask him to cook. But now, what you need to understand here is the deeper nitty-gritties. What are the deeper nitty-gritties? South Indian cook is not everything. The deeper nitty-gritties is who's the audience? Is the audience maybe from Andhra? And these guys love more spice, right? Maybe if it is some other part of the South, maybe they do not prefer that much spice. So these are deeper nitty-gritties which helps you get the right fitment. Similarly, in a recruiting context, Java developers paying Hibernate Oracle. It's everything the same everywhere. But what is the business need? Why the business needs this? What is the problem they'll solve? What is it they'll build? This is something which needs more focus, wherein we need to start empathizing with the hiring manager, trying to fit in the shoes of the hiring manager and try to understand from the hiring manager perspective. Because today it's very easy to say, hey, that hiring manager, man, he keeps rejecting. Oh, it's shit. It's tough to work with that guy. Come on. Even that guy, the hiring manager, is responsible for building a business. He's not rejecting candidates for fun. Right? He's rejecting candidates for a reason. So maybe there's a communication gap or there's an understanding gap for a recruiter that we are not able to get a hold of. What is the exact need? It is not just Java Spring Hibernate, but what is he expecting a Java Spring Hibernate candidate to do it? What is the business solution which we want to build? That if we are able to fill that gap, trust me, that is the need. I'm talking about 1.5 years back when large TA head guy of a product company asked, I did not have an answer, even though I'm fairly connected well with good amount of recruiters. So I said, no, I don't know anyone who can really be a bridge here, right? He did not ask for a top sourcer. So this is where there'll be more need for recruiters who can empathize with the business and solve business things. Second law. Now let's talk about the third law. This is a more beautiful aspect. Okay, agile way of doing things. What is this? We will get into details of what do we mean by agile way of doing things. Just I'll give you one quick differentiation between what is currently happening in the industry mostly out there, right, and what can happen. Right. Next slides we will talk in detail about agile way of doing things. Currently, what's happening is most of the recruiting portfolios out there, people who practice recruiting, right, companies, agencies, and all that, follow more like a waterfall model rather than an agile model. What is this waterfall model? So some of you, since we do hiring, we know, right, there's a methodology called as waterfall and agile methodology, right? So in a recruiting approach, most of them follow waterfall. What happens in a waterfall basically is we get a job description, and then recruiter, it goes to the account manager, gets the job description, it goes to the recruiters. Recruiters pump some 15-20 resumes, and then it goes to the hiring manager, right, for screening, evaluation, and all that. So this is how the flow goes. So basically, we are waiting for the JD to come, and then the sourcing to happen, and then goes to the hiring manager, right? And then after a long time, the feedback comes, right? So more or less, it's a waterfall approach which is being followed, which is kind of a broken approach for a recruiting context. It is not an approach which is in context of the future, right? It is not the approach which helps you build talent pools, right? Waterfall approach is not an approach which helps you build talent pools, right? Keeping future in context. It doesn't let you do that. So currently, this is the approach which is being followed, a waterfall approach. So we need to move from a waterfall approach to a more agile way of doing things. So we will discuss in detail in the next slides what is the agile way of doing things and how it will help the recruiting side of things. Right? Next is being tech, right? Being tech fluent. There are two things when we talk about becoming tech fluent. One is if you are a tech recruiter, right, you need to be in a position to understand the language of your hiring manager and the language of your candidates. The more and the better you start getting comfortable with the language of the hiring manager and the candidates, the better you are able to communicate between them. Right? There's less miscommunication. There was a report, I think, by GitHub, right, wherein 73% of the hiring managers say that recruiters really do not understand what they need. 73%. 73% hiring managers say that recruiters are not in a position to really understand what is the need of hiring manager. Can you see that there's a huge gap there? Why is that gap? Because our understanding in terms of tech is very, very minimal. Does that mean as recruiters we start doing coding, we start doing learning technology courses and all that? No, there's always the in-between thing, right? As recruiters, what we need to do is we need to understand technology to an extent or appreciate technology to an extent that we are able to minimize the gap between the hiring manager and the candidate. That is what is required. Nothing else. You need not go pick up a JavaScript course or a Spring Boot course or a cloud course to understand. If you really want to do that, reach that level, that's good. But that is not the demand. The demand is at least to know what is what when we talk about technology. When a specific framework or a tool is spoken, you should be in a position, right? You should be in a position to figure out what is that particular thing and what does it do. That's all. And then comes automation. Today, the very important mindset of a recruiter which is required is called as a solutioning mindset. What is it called as? Solutioning. Let's say, for example, if I tell you, you have to send me a message, but you cannot SMS me or you cannot mail me. So the next thing, what comes to your mind? Maybe it comes, okay, I'll try to find him on Facebook and send him a message. Maybe I'll try to figure out on LinkedIn or maybe Twitter and then follow him and send him a message, right? So this is what is called as solutioning. So what are you doing is, once someone says, hey, you can message me, but not given the number or mail ID. As recruiters, we're good at stalking, right? We know how to search people, get people. So here you have a solutioning mindset wherein you think to apply technology. Maybe this person is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, right? How do I reach out? Similarly, in a recruiting context, we have so many problem statements which can be solutioned using technology. When I say technology, there's available technology which we can just use it to implement it. That's all. Wherein we are not going to code or build technology. There's umpteen tech out there. It's just that we need to do a little bit of trial and error, see if it fits our business needs, and then automate things. This is where
unknown participant is now joining.
Recruiting future is moving, wherein it is moving towards solutioning mindset of recruiters. You have problem statements in front of you. You look at what are the solutions or automation which you can automate, and then keep doing trial and error, and then trying to implement. Actually, I am astonished looking at the YouTube videos out there for HR tech products. There are so many YouTube videos out there, but the astonishing fact is most of these YouTube videos have less than 1,000 views. Right? Can you imagine? Globally, it is having less than 1,000 views. Even someone like Dean DaCosta, who keeps putting a lot of HR tech videos, automation tools, there's less than 1,500 views on his videos of Dean DaCosta. That says that as recruiters today, we have not built the attitude of figuring out automation tools to solve our recruiting challenges. This needs a mindset change so that we become more solutioning experts to our problems. This is the fourth law. And the fifth law is becoming an employer branding and recruitment marketing expert. Okay. Now, when I say this, some people think, hey, do I need to go pick up marketing courses, branding courses, SEO, right, SMO courses? No, it doesn't mean that. Recruiting by default has marketing embedded in it. It is just that we didn't see it. It is just that when people are talking separately marketing or branding, we are like, oh, I need to do a course. Marketing has always been in part of recruiting. How? When we say send emails, when we send messages, how are we sending those emails? How are we sending the messages to the candidates? Right? Are they very transactional in nature? Are they engaging in nature? This mindset of looking at it itself means you are looking at it in a marketing lens. You need not be doing if you do a course, well and good. But what I'm trying to say is, it is not a specific specialization. It has always been in recruiting. It is just that we need to start giving more importance to it, right, from a marketing or a branding context on each aspect which we do. Right? And then the last aspect is adopt design thinking. There's a lot of discussions these days happening around design thinking, right? So some people assume design thinking is some rocket science, or maybe someone who has a design background, someone who comes with maybe user experience or graphic design, right? Some kind of a design background. That is the guy who will be able to do this. Not really. Maybe those guys will be in a better position to visualize it. But as a design thinking concept, what is required is to figure out the journey of a person. If candidate is your target person, right? then it is all about mapping the journey of a candidate and then putting it in a manner that you can visualize so that you can make that process better. You can look at, okay, this is what I'm doing in the process of the candidate journey. Let me make it better. So we'll talk in detail about in the next few slides, what do we do with design thinking. Yeah. Okay. Now, so, okay, let me just run through again. So these 6 laws is what is the core and the crux of the future of recruiting, right? Deep mining expertise, right, around any repository given. Next is business empathy, understanding the business. Third is agile way of doing things. Fourth is technology and automation. Fifth is marketing, branding, and then sixth is design thinking. Okay, so some pointers we have taken a little more deeper and then give you a little more understanding on what it really means. So first thing is, what does it mean doing recruiting the agile way, right? How do we adopt agile way of doing things? Today, one of the major problems in recruiting is our recruiting cycles are too long. Our recruiting cycles are too long. What happens? We get the job description. After getting the job description, let's say there's a team of recruiters working, 2-3 recruiters, sending resumes to the hiring manager. And after sending maybe 20, 30, 40 resumes, then we get feedbacks. Maybe after 1 day, 2 days, or maybe sometimes even a week, we keep pushing resumes and then we get feedbacks. By the time we get feedbacks, we are like, okay, out of the 50 resumes which we have sent, 20 are reject, or maybe 25 are reject, right? Remaining are select. Now, there's a lot of effort which has gone in for that, whatever number of days the effort has been put to source resumes. And if you get the feedback after 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days, what's happening? You are not in a position to tweak, right? We get feedbacks very late. If you get feedbacks very late, then the effort which is being put is actually lost. What if the hiring manager tells you, hey, this is not the need. I don't need this. I need a candidate who has this version. Doing it for 2-3 days or 5 days, whatever it is, that's gone for a toss. And then sometimes what happens, we schedule candidates, and then after some 10-15 interviews, the hiring manager is like, hey, I don't think I need candidates like this. I need someone who's like that. So your entire cycle of efforts goes for a toss. This is where we need an agile way of doing things. What happens in an agile way is there is an incremental and iterative effort. Right? Incremental and iterative effort. What happens in an incremental and an iterative effort? Let's say we tell the hiring manager, boss, I'm not going to send you 30 resumes, 40 resumes, 50 resumes. I'm going to send you 2 resumes or maybe 3 resumes. Some ballpark number, some small effort number, right? Let me know if I am on the right track. Let me know, am I getting resumes in line to your expectations? So when you're able to sort that out, right, with the hiring manager upfront, then what happens, instead of putting an effort of 20, 30, 40 resumes you're supplying, and then later you get to know, okay, these many profiles are rejected. You're able to sort that. So there's an incremental effort, and then there's iterative. What happens, you're not putting a lot of effort and then realizing, okay, I've gone nowhere. There's a lot of resumes which are a screen reject. Instead of doing this, what we could do is we could do an agile way of doing it, wherein we do an incremental and iterative approach where we talk to the hiring manager and get updates quickly so that we shorten the time. Okay. So by doing this, what happens? The speed and efficacy increases, right? And then the time to hire is actually optimized. Instead of doing a waterfall method wherein we get immediate feedbacks, here the time to hire gets optimized. Okay. And also we are able to provide better experience to the candidates, because let's say you've spoken to 30 candidates and then you realize 10-15 are a screen reject. It's a bad experience which we are providing to the candidate. If we had the right pointers and we did a quick changes here and there, right, by getting the hiring manager inputs within 2-3 resumes or 4-5 resumes, then we are not going to disturb a lot of candidates. Okay. So this is the agile way of doing things. That is something which we need to ensure we embed it in our recruiting cycle. Now, there's something called as we implement this agile way of doing things? In the agile method, what we do, there is something called as agile pods. Okay, what is agile pods? Agile pod is nothing but it is about how do you group teams. It can be a team size of 4 to 8 people for a particular given task. Let's say delivery, resume delivery is one task. So what happens in agile pod model is when 4 to 8 people are involved, people are paired together. Let's say there's a domain expert, okay, someone who understands domain really well. That person is paired with the sourcing expert. Okay, there's a, let's say, a screening expert. Let's say there's an engagement expert. So all these people, what they do is they get paired along, and then this will help us minimize the effort and improve the efficacy. So this is a method which is followed in agile methodology, which is called agile pods. So this kind of a method is what we need to implement in a recruiting context so that we end up minimizing the effort and we improve efficacy. Because today in recruiting, one of the major reasons why recruiter does a lot of unstructured job is because we don't have frameworks. Today, our job as a recruiter is very, very unstructured. The reason it is unstructured is basically we don't have a proper framework and a process which we don't follow. We're just doing it all over the place. So by adopting these kind of frameworks, what is being shown to you, what will happen is we'll be able to improve the efficacy in whatever we are doing. So last week when I was doing webinars on sourcing, I was giving people framework of JD construction, framework of writing sourcing guidelines. They were all frameworks. So when we put it in frameworks, it becomes more easier to understand and we know what we are doing. So the unstructured way of how recruiting happens can be to some extent minimized, and then we make it a little bit structured. Look, recruiting is an unstructured activity. We need to agree it. It is an unstructured activity. But it is left to a recruiter on how smart we can ensure we can make it a little bit structured. We cannot make it 100% structured. There's no holistic approach that, okay, I am going to change everything from tomorrow, not happening. But small pieces, piece by piece, what we could do is we can bring some sort of structure. So that is where these kind of frameworks will really help us to improve the efficacy. Now let's talk about design thinking. What is design thinking all about? Design thinking is like this. It's nothing about, this is something which is in context to marketing. In marketing, there's something called user persona or user journey. Okay. If someone has to buy a product, what is the journey of the user? So they put this in a visualization. This is the kind of a journey which people traverse through before they buy the product. Okay. This is also part of user experience. If someone has to do this activity in any given web application or mobile application, so this will be the journey this person will traverse through and then end up doing this activity. So this is both in a marketing context and also in a user experience context, people follow it. What is it? Nothing about penning down the journey of that particular user. Similarly, for us, candidates are our users. So we need to have a good visualization of, okay, once the candidate comes to us, what is the journey? Right? Once I pick up a candidate, talk to the candidate, and the candidate is like applying, what is the journey till he gets offered? So once you pen down the entire journey and you're able to visualize it, you will actually be able to see, aren't we having too many steps? You might end up questioning things. You might end up questioning your process. You might start looking at, hey, can I tweak it here? Can I make it better? This is applicable for both agency and corporates. What agencies can do in this context is agencies can look at, hey, the reason why we are not able to get much offers in these 2-3 clients because their journey of candidates is too huge. That is the reason. Maybe we can do two things here. Maybe let us go and propose them. There are some other 10-15 clients of ours who are able to hire quickly because their journey is more simpler. You guys are having a very complex journey. So as agencies, you will be more consultative approach. You'll be in a position to tell them what is actually the kind of steps you need to take. When this will happen, when we are able to visualize the journey of the candidates, which is design, when we bring a design thinking approach, right? It is nothing but penning down in a visualized manner how does a candidate's journey traverse through from the beginning till the candidate joins. Okay. So design thinking isn't rocket science. So design thinking starts with empathy. That empathy is based on whom are you trying to replicate, right? For whom are you trying to build a model or a journey? It can be for a hiring manager, it can be for a candidate. Because for a recruiter, irrespective of whether you're an agency or a corporate, both of us are like clients for us. Even hiring manager is a client, even a candidate is a client. So we need to have design thinking model for both of them, wherein we empathize based on what they need, and then we define idea to idea, and then we test. So we have a model, right? We empathize based on their need, their journey, we define it, we ideate, we build a prototype, which is a framework, and then we test how that framework works for the journey of each of them. So if a hiring manager is wanting to hire people, what is his journey until he selects someone, right? How many rounds of interview they have, what all they ask in each round of the interview, do they have any biases when they are hiring? All this you'll be able to map it when you have a design thinking process which replicates the need of the hiring manager, the journey of the hiring manager, and similarly on the other end, the journey of the candidate. Okay, now let's talk about how do we build our brand on social platforms. This is something which is very, very important today because this is a huge talent fight, because today anyone and everyone can have access to data. As I told you, anyone can get data. People have value only if people can remember you, only if you are a brand. How is that you can become a brand? Today is a time when recruiters need to pick up one niche, okay, one niche area. That niche can be, hey, I want to concentrate only on Java, only on UI developer, only on data science. Any one niche you pick, and you try building a contextual network of yours around that niche. Today our problem is we connect anyone and everyone. Okay, we see, okay, developer, we connect. We see some engineer, architect, we connect. Let's stop doing that. Let's target a niche. Let's start building a network around that niche. That is what I call it, contextual networking. Right? And then what we do, it stops with contextual networking? No. Then we need to share content for the audience, which is contextualized for the audience. How do we share it? Let's say technology folks, developers, architects, how do we share it? Very simple. Then we see if you have some a network of 1,000 developers, what you do is you engage with a bunch of good, smart techies, tell them, hey, can you help me, give me some content once in a while, once in a week. Talk to some 15, 20 techies like this. They'll actually give you the smart ones. And then what you do is when you're posting it, tag them and post. Hey, Rajesh, thanks for this amazing article. Hope this is helpful for the Java architects out there. So now that guy also is feeling proud, right, that you are sharing his content. Now what will happen? Who are the kind of people who will actually engage with that content? It is the architects. It's not the recruiters who will engage. Mostly recruiters have a question. Okay, they're like, hey, I keep posting job ads or job posting on LinkedIn. No one is replying. No one is engaging with. Who engages with the job post of a recruiter? Let's say a Java developer post. I am posting it. Who will engage? The first 5-10 likes will be from recruiters only. Right? That's the funny part. Other than all the Java people, recruiters will like you. But let's say you start posting content around technology and Java, recruiters are the one who will not like it because they will not understand it. So contextually, your audience will actually start liking it. So this is how you actually build a brand for yourself. The last point is very, very important, which is about attention is the new economy. Today, everyone has very less span of time in front of us. When our time is so less, so the attention span of people is very less. Because we see a lot of content. Be it on Facebook, LinkedIn, right? Any digital content today is like too heavy. So how are you ensuring the attention of that person is you are able to grab it? That can happen only if you are able to contextualize the content based on what he needs. If you post a job ad just like how everyone else is posting, Java, Spring Boot, Oracle Cloud, then it is the same job description which all other 90 other 90% other people are posting. There are only 10% people who write about good storytelling and all that. So why will someone have an attention on your job post? So attention is the new economy. And if you have to ensure people have attention to the post which you make, right, that is where you need to start building a contextual network and also sharing content which is contextualized to your audience. And I gave you an example how you can do it. You need not be a technology person for that. Okay, why tech adoption is critical to current times? And then we are talking about candidate engagement experience. How does candidate experience has to do with tech adoption? Because people say, right, candidate engagement is more human-centric, right? More empathy and all is involved there. So how come tech adoption has to do with engagement and experience? There are two sides of the coin here. One side is there are a lot of engagement aspects of candidate, which in terms of, let's say, sending mails about each stage of the recruiting process, that instead of we doing it manually, if we adopt some good technology, it will be automated. So by using technology, what we could do is a lot of areas, instead of doing a manual effort, we can automate things. So that will actually minimize the effort which is put, and we can utilize that time for better candidate experience, or looking at how do I create a better story to a candidate when I tell it to a candidate. So tech adoption is very crucial today for engagement and experience. For one reason is obviously you automate, you have more time to invest in other aspects. Point one. Point two is one of the reasons why it is important is when you adopt technology, the candidate experience improvises. It can be like using a chatbot, or it can be using a gamified version, right, for using technology. So there are two sides of a coin when we talk about tech adoption. One is automating a lot of pieces of sending mailers and messages to the candidate so that we don't do it in person, right? So that saves the time. And the second is the experience. That happens, these two things will happen when we adopt technology. Okay, so this is a very beautiful map which tells you how technology is solving problems in a recruiting context. Right? How technology is solving problems in a recruiting context. One is the efficiency concept, effectiveness, and the next is experience. One, we need to ensure how are we improvising the efficiency in the entire recruiting process. That is where what happens, faster sourcing, right? Figuring out the candidate, spotting the candidate, how do we do it very fastly, right, with more efficacy, and how do we come up with better workflows, right? How do we accelerate the reach out to the candidate through automation? So this is all related to efficacy. And then you have the tool category for that. JD Parser, AI, ML for spotting the candidate faster, right? Boolean generators, X-ray generators, and then your mailing automation tools, right? So all this is to what to improve the efficiency. Okay. So these are the kind of aspects which we could do, and these are the kind of category of tools which we can adopt to in order to ensure our efficacy is improvised. And then we talk about effectiveness. Okay. Once you have efficiency in place, how do you ensure it is more effective? Which is in context to interview to offer ratio. How do you increase joining ratio? Right. So to look at the effective aspect, there are a lot of tool categories, which is what talent communities, pre-screening chatbots, right? So all these are tools or categories which will ensure we are able to do things effectively. And the last thing is experience. How can we ensure the candidate gets the best of the experience, right? And then it resonates with the employer brand. So that is where we bring more gamified version, right? Anything which is engaging to the candidate. So what we have done in this overview is we have actually put it in a manner so that you can visualize it, and then you can see these are the aspects of recruiting, and these are the tools or technologies which is out there which can impact efficiency, impact effectiveness, and then experience. Okay. And then we talk about little in detail about technology adoption and automation. So what all is possible, intelligence screening, what all you could do, AI, JD parsing. Then we talk about recruiting chatbots. which will help you in interaction with candidates, and then onboarding automation, which can again be digitized. So it is just an elaborated version of what you saw. We just elaborated it. Okay, so we move to the next piece, the final piece. Okay, so this is the last piece which we'll be talking in context to our 6 holy laws of the future recruiting. The last aspect is storytelling. Today, as I told you, attention is the new economy, which is what we need to get from people. How can we expect attention when we are spamming or when our messaging does not have the right techniques or methods to attract people? So storytelling is the way ahead. I'll give you one example of a leading public speaker, Mohammad Al-Khatani. I saw this video sometime back, and I also shared it on LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you saw this. So this guy won the award for a leading public speaker. Right? He's basically an Arab, right? And we know that Arabs are not that comfortable with English, right? But this guy won the public speaking award in English. You know what this guy does? This guy comes on the stage, in the final event. In first 2 minutes, what he does is he actually talks about smoking and actually almost convinces people saying smoking is not that bad for health. He actually convinces people almost in 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, he says, "Hey, I just made this up." And people laughed. So the point here is the kind of a story he had built for the 2 minutes, which actually garnered the attention of the people. Everyone was really glued on, and some of them really actually believed what he was saying is true. And after that 2 minutes, he's like, "Hey, I just made it up." So this is the power of storytelling. As recruiters, storytelling is something which has to be innate in our entire recruiting process, starting from hiring manager till the candidate who is joining. It has to be storytelling all the way. How are we doing it is something which we need to analyze, look at, and then do it. But you need to have this in mind. Storytelling is something which we need to really embed it. Okay. Now, let's talk about some examples. Okay. So now what happens when we're doing storytelling? When we talk about storytelling, actually our brain starts naturally looking at it, naturally listening at it. Let's say if I tell you a story about an amazing entrepreneur, how he scaled, and I gave a very good story, and then I told you in the first year he made some 2.5 million and then 8.2 million in the next year, and the third year he made this. What will happen after a couple of months is when I ask you about this entrepreneur, the story which I told you, you may not be able to remember the numbers, the 2.5 million, 8.2 million, all that. But you'll be able to remember that story of that entrepreneur because maybe the story was really good. So as recruiters, we need to look at how are we converting our job descriptions or whatever engagement which we are having with candidates in a manner which is story. And the story is more engaging, right? The story is a manner that the candidate has to tell you, "Hey, tell me more about it." Today, the problem is what? When we call candidates, the next minute candidate says, "Hey, send me the JD." Candidate is not interested to talk. So what I did, I was doing a consulting assignment for a client. So I told the recruiters who were doing it, "Hey, spin a small story around this, and then the candidate will laugh and he will talk to you." Right? I built little humor around this. I told them, "Hey, when the candidate tells you, 'Hey, send me the JD,' tell the candidate in a little humorous manner, 'Hey, Ramesh, come on, man, JD, you know, Java developer JDs are all same for every Java developer. That same Spring Boot, the same web service only. What will you see with it's all same, man? Come on." So the reason why I want to talk to you was just to understand some business aspects of it, right? And then the conversation, and then the candidates actually laugh. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's true." So what happened? This recruiter was able to garner the attention. And then after 1 week, when I asked this recruiter, "Hey, can you see a change in the way you are engaging with candidates?" How many candidates these days are telling, "Hey, send me JD," and hanging up the call? He was like, "Yeah, that number has minimized." Now people are like able to talk to me. They are like liking that particular sentence, wherein they're telling it in a more humorous manner, saying, "Hey, all JDs are same. What is there?" So this is how we build storytelling. I just gave you one example because this is a live example which I did it with one of my clients 2 months back. Okay. Like this, there's a lot of more modules you can come up with, a lot of methods to get that attention of the candidate, so that you ensure the candidate is listening to you. So this is what we need to look at in the entire recruiting journey, where all we can come up with more storytelling approaches, so that it is embedded in our entire recruiting journey, right? So yeah, we spoke about it. Right. So storytelling is basically shifting our mindset, our perspective from, hey, I have something to tell you, to I have something to share you. Because we share experiences, we share stories, and we tell information. That is the difference. The difference between telling and sharing is, when I have to tell you something, it is more of information. I just want to pass on information. As recruiters, if you're doing a job of passing on information, then what will happen? The candidates will tell you, yes, Saturday interview, right? I'm coming. And you know what happens, the dog dies on Saturday, right? So, but we are not facing it now because of COVID. That's a different thing altogether. But this is the scenario. Why? Because we pass on information. Hey, Saturday's interview, you're coming, huh? Information passing. So the candidate also says, yes, I'm coming. And then you know what happens. So if we shift this information passing method or the approach to a more of an approach which is storytelling, right? Sharing experiences, that is where there's a huge shift in what we are doing. Right? So the example which I gave you is just one aspect of recruiting, which is on scheduling. There are a lot of other aspects of recruiting where storytelling today is the need of the hour. Trust me, after maybe a year or 2 years, there will be a separate job role for recruiters who master storytelling, so that they can build storytelling models and methods in the entire recruiting journey. Right? Trust me, this has already started coming. I think in detail, Adam Gordon will talk to you about how the role of a recruiter is shifting to a talent manager or a talent nurturer. Right? So if you have to do talent nurturing, you need to be good at content curation, ensuring your candidates are seeing your content. So Adam Gordon will be talking in detail about this. Okay. Now we end with this slide. So what this slide says is, this slide says, what will your future skill set look like? So one of the main aspects of the future skill set is having the ability to contextually analyze and mine data. Okay. What is the meaning of contextually analyze and mine? Let me tell you. Let's say, for example, the skill Kubernetes. Right? Most of the recruiters have a wrong assumption that Kubernetes is for DevOps only. No, it's not. Now, why is this assumption which is generated by most of the recruiters? Because we are actually not analyzing data contextually. Kubernetes can mean a different meaning if it comes for a backend developer. It can mean a different meaning if it comes for a DevOps guy. Right? The same skill, same technology, it can mean different. So we need to develop an ability to contextually analyze data sets, contextual analyze skills. And only when we do this, we'll be able to mine the data contextually. Right? First, we need to be in a position to analyze it contextually. Right? The same skill can mean different things when we put it across different roles. Okay? So analyzing it contextually, and then that will help you mine contextually. Point one. Point two, as I told you, the need of the hour is deep domain expertise and being in a position that you are adopting a consultative approach to the business. Right? It can be a hiring manager, right, who is actually the business for you. Okay. So ensuring you have a deep domain expertise and then have a consultative approach towards the business, towards the hiring manager, this is the need of the hour. The third is branding. We spoke about branding in large, how we could do it, how you can build a brand for yourself, and you can be a talent magnet yourself. Right? And then agile approach. We spoke about how agile can minimize the time, right? Whatever we are doing, how it can improve our process. And then tech adoption, a solutioning mindset. You need not be a developer or a techie. It is just that you have this problem statement, looking at what are the possible technologies out there, so you can implement solutions for that. Last one is design thinking approach. Design thinking is nothing but ensuring you build journeys of that particular person. Candidate is your person. Build journeys of candidate. Okay, this is how the journey of the candidate, and then you will know, okay, how complex it is, how easy it is, and you can compare it with other journeys of other companies who are hiring, how they are doing it, right? and this will actually help you improvise your entire process. So going forward, one thing is for sure. Till now, most of the trainers used to say, "Hey, recruiting is such a monotonous job. It is so boring. The same thing. I need to look at the JD, call the candidate, process him for interview, and then candidate ditches or maybe he joins. Same process every day." No, recruiting isn't monotonous. Going forward, what is going to happen is change will become normal. Okay, change will become normal, and recruiting is going to be fun, and recruiting is going to be data. D for design thinking, A for analysis, T for tech, and A for agile approach. So this is how we need to be approaching it. So what we have done here is we have given you an overall framework or more of a overview of how things would look like, how things are evolving, and we have spoken by large about each module, each aspect, so that we can start implementing these aspects and looking at it with a bigger lens, with a larger lens. Till date, we've been doing sourcing, but are we doing it with a mindset of deeply analyzing the data? Analyzing data set, that is something we need to question ourselves. Second is, we've been talking to hiring managers in business, but are we doing it in a level that we are able to empathize the hiring manager, or maybe to put ourselves in the shoe of the hiring manager? We need to look at it, right? And then we need to look at what is this agile approach? How is that agile approach can minimize my efforts and ensure there's more efficacy? And then look at how do I bring HR tech products in my recruiting activity. There's a lot of HR tech products out there. Just to trial and error, and you'll be there. Last is ensuring how do I implement design thinking. So yeah, here I end the session. So hope this was useful. Before I end it, one thing I wanted to tell all of you is the next two sessions of Adam Gordon and Dean DaCosta, you can access it through the same link. Okay, the same link you can use to access it, because they messaged me in the last minute saying the capacity of their Zoom link is just 100, and we have some close to 130, 140 people, right? So yes, so you can use the same Teams link. Okay, I have given them the access with a separate ID, so they will log in and they'll be there on time. Okay, and so use the same link. Don't use links which is simply use separate links for Adam and separate links for Dean. Link is only one. Whatever the link which you are currently accessing, use the same link. You can come on 6:30, and you'll be able to view Adam Gordon, and then 10:30 at night you'll be able to view Dean DaCosta. So hope you guys had some takeaways. Hope the session was useful. Let me know if you have any queries. You can maybe shoot it on chat, or maybe you can unmute and ask. Yes, recording will be sent. Recording is being done. It will be sent.
I have a question. Can you
yes.
Again? Can you describe about what is adopt design thinking and those kind of about design thinking, because I'm not clear about it.
Okay. Design thinking is nothing but design thinking is just I'll tell you what is design thinking. What happens in marketing or user experiences, right? When people are building applications, web application or mobile application, they try to come up with a journey of the user. Okay? Let's say the user, for example, has to use a recruiting product. Okay? So the user experience guy will try to pen down what are the major aspects of the journey of the user will look like. Okay? In terms of that is where the design thinking comes. Depending on the user journey, he will come, he'll log in. Maybe first he will create a job, right? And then he will try to add candidates, and then he'll send a mail. So there's a journey of a user. Similarly, in context to a candidate, we need to come up with a journey map. So what is the journey? Let's say the candidate has applied for a job. Next, what happens? You're sending him a confirmation mail that you have received, and then within how many hours you are telling him he's shortlisted or rejected, and are you giving him a reason for what reason he's shortlisted or rejected, right? And then when is the interview happening? What is the gap between that interview, right? So this is all about the journey of the candidate. You put it in terms of a visual manner, wherein you're able to visualize it. Okay, from the beginning till the offer stage, what does the candidate go through? Okay, that is a approach wherein we bring design thinking, which is nothing but a visualized manner of the journey of a candidate, or it can even be a hiring manager. Hope that helped you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, candidate engagement and experience, and then
Ashfaq, I hope you will share the recording, the audio plus the video, both are not that clear. Hope that will be clear for the next session. And were you saying that when you log into the same link for 6:30? I didn't get that.
yeah, same link. Yeah, you use the same link which you have used to log in. You use the same link.
All right, please share the recording.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So yeah, so there are some couple of questions on the chat window. One is about engagement and experience. Engagement and experience. Look, you'll be able to better figure out the engagement and experience, how you could do it when you are coming up with a design thinking model wherein you pen down the journey of the candidate, and then you see what is the kind of an engagement you are currently doing and what is the kind of an experience you are offering to the candidate currently, and then look at where you can better it, where you can improvise it. Okay. And one of the aspects of candidate engagement is using empathy and praise. Okay. You should know when to empathize, when to praise the candidate, and use a lot of open-ended conversations with the candidate than close-ended conversations. So this is where your candidate engagement can get better. In terms of experience, it depends whether you're a corporate or an agency. There are different aspects here. I'm not getting in detail because that's a different subject altogether. It will take a lot of time. So I'm skipping that piece. And then could you please explain a bit about how we can adopt agile methodology in real time with example? Okay, how we can adopt agile methodology is basically one of the simple examples of agile is breaking down pieces. Right? Because today the effort is what we spend a good amount of time, send 20-30 resumes, and then we realize, hey, that 15 resumes are rejected because the expectation was something else. And we know that job description is not everything. Even though recruiters treat job description as a holy scripture, right? We treat job descriptions as holy scripture, but we know it is not everything. Tomorrow, after the hiring manager update, maybe after a few days, we realize, oh, 10-15 candidates are rejected because the expectation was something else. So there's a lot of effort which is lost. In order to ensure this effort is minimized, what we do is we send maybe 2 resumes or 3 resumes or 5 resumes and get quick feedbacks. Loop, right, is minimized so that you can quickly iterate and change your approach of sourcing or your screening approach rather than spending 2-3 days or 4 days effort. So this is one simple example of agile. Actually, we are going to come up, SkillScaler is going to come up with a separate certification course on how are we implementing recruiting. Okay, wherein this is just an overview of a content which we had presented for one of our clients for a consulting approach. So we are coming up with a separate module where we'll be training mostly senior recruiters or managers or maybe CEOs of agencies, right, or TA heads. Will be helping them adopt an agile manner in a more detailed. What we have seen here is just one overview of agile. There's a lot of detail wherein, yes, we can talk about examples in each journey, in each from screening to shortlisting, interviewing. So that is something which is very detailed. Agile itself is a 1 day or a 2 day session. Okay. What you have seen, what the entire purpose of this webinar is to give you an overview of where the future is heading. What are the small aspects which we think as small has more depth in. Okay. That is what something which we wanted to ensure you get a more deeper understanding on these things. That was the entire purpose. Or else each topic, design thinking itself is a 1 day topic. Right? That gets more detailed. So yes, I'll keep you posted about that event. Yeah. Any questions? Any other questions, guys?
Ashok, Ramesh is here. I think my chat box is not activated, so I'm voicing in.
Oh, cool.
So I just wanted to get to know about your opinion on the realistic problem what I face on day-to-day. So be it press that being in technology company that give you an example that we keep looking in for a Java developer with someone's set of Spring Boot and Hibernate. Where initially that we had different problems that filtering in, pitching in right candidate and all, and then later the the framework that I have decided. Every candidate, whomever we speak, because majority of the candidates who got rejected with the reason of technically unfit by the tech manager. Being a tech, recruitment point of view, we were unsure that who is really techie and who are not. So then we thought and we built a model where any candidate whom we pick, we ensure that to check where and all he is active. When it comes to technology, what is his GitHub account, Stack Overflow, what is his repository, what are the engagements he is actively involved into tech forums. So we try to filter as much as possible. And then even after then we take them to the recruitment process. But still at the end of the day, even I could see a betterment, but still the result is not success. I don't see the right candidate yet. At the end of the day, the end point is we want everyone to be onboarded after taking up an online assessment through third-party technical assessment.
Got it. Yeah.
People are getting failed even.
So I got it. I'll tell you. Yeah. So so this is one of the common problems in the recruiting industry. Okay, so what we advise recruiters here is, in order to minimize this, there are a lot of frameworks which we can follow. Okay, one starting with a JD deconstruction framework. Okay, so when we deconstruct a job description and write a sourcing guideline, it becomes very clear what is a primitive skill and a secondary skill, what is a functional skill and everything. Okay. This starts from deconstructing a job description. Okay. Why? Because today most of the recruiters do not understand tech, which is for sure, right? Because we don't come from a technology background, which is understandable. But we need to be in a position to contextually relate technology. That's all. What is what? Right? So when we are doing this, we need to create a persona or a candidate persona in context to, let's say, we talk about a Java developer. What are the skills which will be primitive? What are the skills which will be secondary for him? Right? Like, for example, for a recruiter, tracker or Excel sheet is secondary. He's by default doing it. Right? So expecting a recruiter write tracker or Excel sheet on his resume is not welcome. Right? You will miss out on so many candidates because most of the recruiters don't write it. But we know most of them will do it. Right? Similarly, there are a lot of aspects for a Java developer which is all supportive. So these first, it needs a clarity here, which starts with JD deconstruction. We deconstruct your job description, we write sourcing guidelines. This is a webinar which I was doing for last 2 weeks. Okay, when I helped some 150 recruiters to get insights on this. And once this is set, what we do is we set this sourcing guideline and give it to the hiring manager and asking, hey, this is what I have understood from your job description. Are we in line? Okay, so we get a go ahead. Okay, this is the step one. This doesn't solve the entire problem. Okay. Next, step two. What we do in step two is, when we have clarity from sourcing guideline, this is the primary skill framework and all, these are the secondary and all that. Then what we do is, we have to have a method of asking open-ended questions to candidates. Right? Instead of asking, hey, are you using Spring Boot in your current project? From how many years you're using Spring Boot? Rate out of 10. These questions are not going to give any insights. What will give you insights? Ask a candidate, hey, I see that you've been working on Spring Boot in your recent project. Can you help me understand your contribution on Spring Boot in your current project? Now, the candidate will explain you. Now, recruiters will say, hey, that will be a bouncer for me, man. You will speak technology. I tell them, hey, come on, you go to France. First 2-3 months, you'll struggle understanding French. You will speak broken French. But will you stop? No. Because fittest of survival, you'll speak broken French and you'll try to understand the broken French. Right? And in 6 months or 1 year, your French will become so good, and when you come to India, you will flaunt French, right? Just on a lighter note, right? So similarly, as recruiters, when we're talking to techies and asking open-ended questions, you talk to Java guys for a month or 2 months, then the recruiter will be able to say, hey, the guy who says like this, the kind of implementation he has done on Spring Boot, that is the guy my hiring manager will like. When will this happen? Only when we start asking open-ended questions and we start writing it down for each candidate. Some 4 or 5 questions for the mandatory skills. We write open-ended questions and the answers for it and start sending it to the hiring manager. And the hiring manager will appreciate it. Why? Because hiring manager at the end of the day sees what? Just as Java, Spring Boot, Cloud or something, right? That's all. There's no more depth to it. So this kind of a snippet for each skill on what is he doing exactly, that will give him more insights and you'll be able to minimize it. Hope that helps.
Yeah. Certainly, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, anything else before we wrap it?
Ashfaq, hi. This is Arvind here. Is it possible to share the PPT rather than the video recorded in our Monk site?
Yeah, the PPT will also be available for you. We will be sharing it. This is just an overview. We'll share a more refined one, a PDF document, which will again be available on Monk. Right. The reason is because we're creating Monk as a platform or an e-learning platform where you have all the data in one place. Right. So that will be available sometime next week. So we'll keep you posted. Since we have all your mail IDs, we'll shoot out the mail to you. Okay.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Hope the content was good. Hope you had some takeaways. And if there's no questions, we wrap it up. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time.
+14168487069
Is now exiting.